Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Staying Fit Juniors Badge with Girl Scouts of Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho. I'm Corey Ulrich, and I am a program specialist with our council. And I am privileged to walk you through the Staying Fit Badge today. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so these are the steps for the badge, and our first step is to start moving. The second step is to keep your fit body fueled. The third step is know how to stress less. The fourth step is get the truth about health, and the fifth step is to help your family stay fit. So to track all of these steps, you are going to create I put a picture of it right here, but you're going to create a tracker for yourself for 2 weeks that's going to track your 30 minutes of exercise. And we have some guest speakers today who are going to tell you what that could mean. Our healthy meal, stress-free, so working on our mental health and tracking your feelings, because the more you're healthy, the better you're going to start feeling. So you might feel more energy, you might have more positive emotions, you might be able to deal with some of your unhappy emotions in a little bit better ways. All right, so you can go ahead and make your own one of these. So I just did 7 days for week 1 and 7 days for week 2, and then I color coded it so that I could start tracking what I was doing. So on my first day, I went for a run or walk with my dogs for 30 minutes. And then I had some balanced food. We're going to hear a lot about balance. And then I sat in the sun, listened to music for a little bit, and these were my feelings for that day. So that's what you're going to do for 2 weeks in order to make sure you get this badge. So we're going to start with step 4, get the truth about health, because we have 2 amazing experts with us. Melissa Trygg is a health teacher / soccer coach, and she's going to talk to us about her experience with kind of learning about health and kind of some of the misconceptions. And Alicia Harrington is a med student / former wellness kind of expert. She worked a lot with her former patients on just kind of overall wellness and acupuncturist. So let's go ahead and let the 2 of them talk to us a little bit about health, and then we'll kind of dive into a little bit of the badge later. But we definitely want to get the truth about health, and we'll be able to reference some of what they say later on. So let's let them go ahead and talk.
My name is Melissa Trygg, and I live near Seattle, Washington, and I am currently a wellness teacher. So I teach grades 7, 8, and 9 for health and wellness.
That's awesome. But you also do other stuff outside of teaching. That's all.
I do, yeah. I'm a soccer player and a soccer coach. That's kind of my sport of choice. And I've got an almost 2-year-old daughter, and stay active with her. She's currently really into the little gymnastics, so I've been finding myself getting more interested in gymnastics because of her. So.
Nice. That's cool. So my first question for you is, what are some common misunderstandings people have about staying fit?
I think probably the biggest one is that you have to be thin to be fit, and that so like skinny people are healthy and fat people are unhealthy. And I think that's a really common misconception that that I'd like to try to fix, is that body types are really, they vary from person to person, and somebody could have their body and be really super healthy and fit, and somebody who's got a really small body may actually not be as fit as we think. And so I think taking away sort of that physical connection to how somebody looks, how healthy they are.
Yeah, I think that's true too. And then do you have any common misunderstandings people have about healthy eating?
Yeah, I think probably with that, the misunderstanding is that there's one right way to eat. And I think that's not true. Again, everybody's body is different, everybody's goals are different, everybody's lifestyles are different. And so I think, you know, even something that like the government, the FDA has their healthy plate that used to be the food pyramid, and it was sort of this one size fits all, here's what should be on your plate. And I don't agree with that. I think that depending on, again, your goals and what your activities are, you have different needs. And so, for example, a person who's, you know, playing a lot of sports may have different protein needs than somebody who's not. And, you know, and so I think that that's a misunderstanding if there's one right way. And same thing when it comes to a lot of like the fad diets, that you sort of have to go to the extreme to be healthy. And I think if I had to summarize healthy eating in one word, it would be balance. Understanding, finding a balance in your nutrition.
Awesome, thank you. So along with that, one of the things that we're doing for this badge is researching some nutrients that might be important. So do you have any like top nutrients that you feel like people should like are not aware that they're missing out a lot on, or that might be helpful for somebody who is working to be more fit and have a more better balance?
Yeah, so really there's sort of this big word, macronutrients, and it's sort of, you know, the big nutrients that our body needs for energy. And that's really what we run on. That's what allows our body to build more. So as we're growing or we're building muscle. And so the three macronutrients are protein, which you're going to get mostly from eating animal product. If you eat animal products, so meat, dairy, eggs, those kind of things. Or if you eat plant-based diet, or as I said, balancing, you know, if you do plant and meat-based or animal-based, is mostly going to come from the seeds or nuts or beans of a plant. And that's where you're going to get most of your protein. And then for carbohydrates, which is a really big fancy word that really just means sugars. And so we often think of sugar as sort of this bad, unhealthy, but that's actually not true. Carbohydrates are in all plants. So anything in the entire world that you eat that's plant, that could be, you know, even our grains, so our rice and our wheat and our fruits and our vegetables, all of that contains carbohydrates. And those are really what our body runs off of for like our energy. So if you're going to be going out for a run, or you're going to play a soccer game, or you're going to go jump on the trampoline, your body needs those carbohydrates. And kind of the thing to think about is if it's a sweeter plant, so a fruit, or if you're taking like the sweet nectar of something like sugar cane, which is what we often sort of label as sugar, those are going to give you like a really fast, quick burst of energy. So it might make you feel really energized for a really short amount of time. Whereas if you get something that's not so sweet, so like those whole grains that you're going to find in your brown rice, your whole wheat bread, whole grain cereals, and then your vegetables, those are going to give you like this long, slow energy. So if you're like, okay, in the morning, I want something that's going to last me all the way till lunch, or if you're going on a long hike with your family, that's where you're going to find sort of that long energy. And then fats, which often get sort of this bad name. Again, going back to my earlier comment, but fats are actually a really important part of our diet, especially for kids. Because fats are what allow your brain to learn. And so as you're developing new memories and learning new things, fats are what allow your brain to do that. And so the healthiest kinds of fat are generally going to be fats that are found in plants more than the animal fat. So if I had to pick a few, it would be any kind of nuts or beans are going to have really good healthy fat in them. Avocados have some good healthy fat. Any seeds are going to have some good healthy fats. And then also the one animal that does have some really good healthy fats for your brain are fish. Yeah. So you've got something called omega-3s, which are like superfood for your brain. They also, just as a side note, make your hair and skin healthy. So you get prettier, shiny hair and nice skin that's less likely to have pimples. So kind of a bonus.
Good to know. Thank you. Okay, so I had two more questions. I think you kind of answered one of them, which was just kind of, do you have any stay healthy tips for kids in general?
Well, aside from finding balance in your diet, I would say getting sleep. So for kids, what age are most of these Girl Scouts?
9 and 10.
9 and 10. So I would say for a 9 and 10-year-old, they're looking somewhere in the ballpark of 9 to 10 hours of sleep a night. And that does not mean just lying in bed. It means actually sleeping. So turning off those devices, turning off the lights, and really trying for about 2 hours before bed to not do screens, which I know is tough right now with all the digital learning and all of that, but there's something called blue light that comes out that disrupts our sleep patterns. And sleep is really critical. That's when our body does the most growing. So if you don't sleep enough, it can affect your growth. That's when we take everything we learn during the day and we turn it into long-term memory. So that's a really important time for us to say, I do all this work during the day at school, how do I actually remember it later? And that happens from getting sleep. So I'd say aside from eating and then exercise, which I think you have some other questions about exercise, so I can come back to that.
Yeah, that was one of the other ones. Is so one of the challenges for this badge is they are supposed to learn the difference between aerobic and anaerobic exercise and kind of think about why they might want to be focusing at least 30 minutes 3 times a week on aerobic exercise, and kind of what are some of the benefits about that. So what are some considerations that they should think about when they're doing aerobic exercise?
So aerobic is really going to strengthen your heart, and that's super important. It's a lot about habit building at this point. So it's making your heart stronger so that when you go out to do activities, you then have the ability to do them for longer. But it's also, and this is going to be kind of a weird analogy, but I equate it to the habit of like brushing your teeth. So, you know, you start at an early age. As soon as you get teeth, you start brushing them because you get that plaque and you want to clean it off. You wouldn't want to wait until your teeth are completely rotted and then say, oh no, something's wrong, I'm going to start brushing my teeth. So the blood vessels that carry your blood away from your heart out to your body, they get that kind of plaque built up on them too. And so if you are doing aerobic exercise every day, what it does is it makes your blood go faster. And when the blood goes faster, it actually brushes away that plaque that's inside those arteries. And so when you're young, you probably don't have much plaque in there. But if you wait until you're old and they're all covered in plaque, then it can be really problematic and it's hard to clean it off. It's like those rotten teeth. And so if you start now with a habit of every day you go out and you brush them, right? And you're not actually brushing them, but you're making your blood go faster by aerobic exercise, then over a lifetime, you're going to kind of keep them healthy. And so I think that's why it's really important to not just do it once in a while and wait till it's bad. It's like brushing your teeth. You want to do it every day consistently. Keep them healthy because they're already healthy now as a young person.
And so do you have any favorite types of aerobic exercises that you like to do? Or can you give some examples?
I mean, walking is something that most people are able to do. Part of why I like walking is because it's slow, and so I get to enjoy what's around me, to look at the scenery. I've also started listening to podcasts when I walk, and so that's fun. Sometimes not so much right now because of social distancing, but it's really fun to go for walks with people and kind of check in and talk. So I think walking is probably my favorite. I also really enjoy swimming. I know for me, I've had a lot of knee injuries and knee pain because of playing soccer for so many years. And so what I like about swimming is that it takes all the weight and pressure off of your joints in your body, which probably for 9 and 10-year-olds is not an issue, but for us older folks it is. And it's relaxing. So once you get the breathing part of it down, it's really nice.
Yeah.
And then also just like something it should be fun. I think whatever you do, it should not feel like, oh, I have to go do this today. It should be something that you're like, oh, I get to go do this today. And so finding that, and if that means jumping on a trampoline or going rollerblading or something where you find joy in it, I think then it won't feel like a chore.
Awesome. So I think that's all of my questions, unless you wanted to add anything else that you were like, I can't believe you didn't ask me this, Corey.
I think the one thing I want to add that's just another benefit to the exercise is the connection between physical and mental health. And so one of the things that happens when you are doing cardio exercise or aerobic exercise, your body releases these chemicals in your brain that actually lower your stress levels. So 9 and 10-year-olds might be starting to experience, more stress, and right now with the quarantine and all that, but it lowers your stress levels. It helps you sleep. So if you're somebody who has trouble sleeping, it actually helps you sleep. And it actually releases something called endorphins that just, they make you feel good. And so there's a lot of connections that show that regular daily exercise helps with mental health and feeling happy and feeling good.
Awesome. Actually, that's one of the components of this badge, is also looking at stress and how to find ways to unstress. So we'll add exercise to our list.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Melissa. I really appreciate your help on this.
You're welcome.
Really great to hear someone who can talk about it without, like, I feel like I just make it up. I'm like, I remember learning this in school. Let me go Google it real fast to make sure I'm not telling them lies.
Totally. Yeah. And feel free to reach out if anybody contacts you with questions. I'm happy to answer them directly to them or for you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the time. I appreciate it. I know you have a busy teaching schedule, so thanks for squeezing us in.
No problem. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good luck with everything.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. So I'm Alicia Harrington, and I have been an acupuncturist for over 9 years, and so I kind of started my health career there, but now I'm a third-year osteopathic medical student, and so I'll be kind of expanding my scope of practice to really include all of health and wellness. And I have a long background in like lifestyle medicine and wellness education. I do a lot of that with my patients, kind of coaching them on the best practices to live a long and healthy life.
That's awesome. Thank you. So what are some common misunderstandings people have about staying fit?
So I think probably one of the biggest ones is people think it's like an all or nothing thing. They think that they either have to run every day or eat vegetables for every single meal or else they're not healthy. And that's definitely not true. It's really a spectrum of health. And so the more you do, the healthier you will be. And so that could mean going for a walk with a friend or taking the dog out and playing with him for an hour. And that can count as exercise. And, eating as many vegetables as you can with getting a nutritious diet. But it's not like you can't have birthday cake and be healthy. You can have birthday cake as long as you're also thinking about the other opportunities to be healthy.
Awesome. So then what are some important nutrients that you think that people need to be aware of and should be making sure that they have in their diet?
Yeah, so that's probably another common misunderstanding that people have, is kind of thinking about nutrients as being something that you take in a vitamin. And like, really, we should be getting those from our food. And so we think of food as in these two different categories of nutrition. Macronutrients, which are the fats, the proteins, and the carbohydrates, and then the micronutrients, which are the vitamins and the minerals that are in our foods. And so probably the biggest thing people are missing are those micronutrients. They're not getting enough different vitamins and minerals. And that usually comes from the fact that they're eating the same foods all the time. Like, probably the most common food eaten in the United States is pizza. No, that's a food. There's, tomatoes on there, and you could put vegetables, but really we want to think about eating a varied diet. And so eating from the rainbow is a really good way to do that, because all those different colors that are in the foods have different micronutrient profiles. And so thinking about trying to eat the rainbow can be a good way to stay healthy.
So I don't just have to eat green vegetables, I can eat a red pepper as well.
Totally, or purple cabbage.
That's awesome. So then, let's say I am trying to be better about staying fit. Do you have any like tips or one thing that everyone can do to stay fit at home, especially during this time?
For sure. I think probably the biggest thing people can do is get up and move around. It doesn't have to be specific activity, it's just movement. And so not sitting in a chair all day, every day can be a good way to stay fit. So just kind of setting a timer for yourself and knowing how long you've been sitting in a chair to remind yourself to get up and move around. And there's lots of apps to do that. And if you have a watch or something that can just remind you to get up and move around, the more frequently we do that, the better our overall health is going to be. And that's due to a lot of reasons. We get blood circulating, we work our muscles, we, can get more oxygen to our body. And so just the more movement you can get in the day, the better. And back to what I was saying before, trying to eat from the rainbow. Try a new vegetable at least every week, if not more frequently. It can be really helpful too.
Awesome. So then I think my last one is that we're learning about aerobic versus anaerobic exercise. And just, do you have any, like, if I'm about to go do some aerobic exercise, what is it like and what should I do to kind of make sure my body is ready for that?
Yeah, so the word kind of says it, aerobic, like you're going to be breathing more, you're going to be doing a lot of work. So when you start to feel like you're getting out of breath, that's probably an aerobic exercise. And so to do that, you can just walk fast, or you can jump on a trampoline or jump rope. Even if you don't have a jump rope, you can do it just pretending. Any of those motions that kind of get your breathing increased would be good for that.
Cool. All right. Well, that is everything I have. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm glad to help.
All right, back to the steps in order. So we just heard that we've got aerobic exercise, and Alicia did a really great job of explaining that. It means that we're getting air into our system. Anaerobic means that we're not really oxygenating, our blood's not flowing really fast, and that's something that we need to work on. So one way to kind of test and see how fast is our blood moving is we can do a pulse. So this was a graph that I made, and I'm going to walk you through how to do it. So the first thing we're going to need to do is find your pulse. So I usually use these two fingers, and I just kind of like look in my neck, kind of like to the side a little bit. And once you kind of need to move it around, you're not dead, so you have one. So you're just going to keep pushing until you kind of feel it, and then just kind of rest your fingers there until you feel it. What we're going to do is I'm going to start a timer, and you're going to count how many heartbeats you had. And this is just going to be while you're sitting. So we're going to do two experiments, one while you're just sitting there watching this video, and then I'm going to make you do 10 jumping jacks. And then you're going to take your pulse a couple more times, and we're going to see what happens. So the first time, we're just going to find your pulse, and then you're going to watch this timer. Let's see if I can get it to go. All right, so for me, I had 16 beats. So I would mark on a graph. Let me show you what that's going to look like. Okay, so on a piece of graph paper, you're going to go ahead and just keep track. So you had, for however many beats you had, so I'm just going to draw a little line down here. And then for me, I had 16, so I'm just going to go up one square. So that's 16 for me. I think my camera good. So then we're going to do it again. And we're going to try to do it 5 times while we're sitting. And then we're going to do it 5 more times after you've done jumping jacks in between each one. Okay. So let's do it one more time just so you know what you're doing. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. Okay. Find your pulse. You're sitting. Done nothing? All right, last time I got 17. So on my graph, right next to 16, I'm going to put 17. And I'm going to make a little bump of it, just like that. So I can go ahead and fill in the other numbers near it. Your pulse is probably going to be about the same every time, depending on how much you're talking or moving in between. It will vary a little bit, so that's why we're doing this graph. So we're trying to do that 5 times. You'll have a graph for sitting. Here's my sitting graph. And then you're going to get up and do your 10 jumping jacks. And then let's go ahead and have that timer run for you while we do that. Okay, so you're just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously not in a chair, but I have to do a video. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you're going to find your pulse real fast. And oops, I can't find the pause button. Okay, so that time you're gonna have a jumping jacks graph. So whatever you got on that graph, maybe it was a little bit higher. And it should be higher because you're doing exercise, that means your heart is pumping more air to your muscles. And Melissa talked to us about how that is kind of cleaning. So the more you are doing some of this like activity, air, breathing a lot, you're gonna be able to clean out your system, and it just prepares your body for more times when it might need to do that. So maybe I had a little bit higher number that time. So maybe my number was 20, and so I would make a new graph with a bump for 20. Okay, if I get a heartbeat that's the same again, so let's say I'm sitting here and I got another 16, I would just put another one over that. So your graph could look something like this at the end, like that, or it could look something like this at the end, where you have one that's a little bit more. So just kind of looking at when I'm sitting and not doing anything, kind of resting heart rate, how slow is my heart beating, and how fast is my heart beating when I am doing aerobic exercise, which is getting a lot more oxygen out to the things of my body and is preparing your body for doing kind of more work and just making everything a stronger system, like your heart, your lungs are all working together to make sure that they can keep you healthy. All right. So for the next 2 weeks, now that you kind of know what is happening with your heart rate when you're doing aerobic exercise, you're going to try to do 30 minutes of some sort of aerobic exercise. So we had some really great examples from Melissa and Alicia. You could do trampoline, you could just play with your dog outside. If you have a dog, you could go for a walk with your family. Just something that's getting you moving. Maybe you're doing some kind of like just jumping jacks around the house. You want to have it be 30 minutes all at once. Even though it's good to stay moving during the day, we're going to try to have you do 30-minute block. So try to do that once a day for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so that's step 1. Start moving on your log. All right, step 2. I can get this moved. All right, keep your fit body fueled. So we luckily already know a little bit about some of these things. So, but we're going to take a look at this nutrition facts label. Let me see if there's that. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can look at this nutrition facts label, because you're going to go look for some of these as well. So on nutrition facts, which almost all of your food has, sometimes it's not exactly in this style, maybe it's strawberries or something, but it's going to tell you some key information. So it's going to talk about the number of servings. So that's based on the serving size. So that's how much you can put in your bowl or in, on your plate. and have it match up with these numbers. So if it's 2/3 cup of maybe, I don't know, strawberries was a great example. This is not strawberries, but so maybe 2/3 cup strawberries. So this is really important. A lot of people misunderstand what calories are. Calories are sometimes talked about as a really bad thing. I need to cut my calories, people say. Calories are actually what gives your body energy. Calories is actually a measurement of energy that you're going to see in your chemistry and physics classes later on in high school and maybe college. So calories is how much energy that food can give you. And so the reason that people worry about calories is because if they are eating all of this energy and then they're not using it for exercise, then the body is like, well, I have all this energy, I'm going to store it somewhere. And that's when it turns to fat in your body. But it's still there in case of emergency. So you do need to have some fat on your body just in case, you know, you get sick and you're not able to eat as much, or, you know, you're on a deserted island someday. That's the worst case scenario, obviously. But calories are important because it's giving your body energy. And the problem is if you're not using the same amount of energy that you're putting in. So that's why this is really important. You do need to make sure you're getting good calories during your day. We've had Melissa talk to us about our macronutrients, our fats, our carbohydrates, and our proteins. She said carbohydrates were basically just kind of sugars. So you have complex starchy sugar and then just kind of sweet tasting sugar she talked about. So we do need to have these macronutrients in our diet. And Alicia talked to us a little bit about our micronutrients. So our cholesterol, our sodium, our vitamins, our calcium, our iron, and potassium. Okay, so that's not everything that is important, but that's what this particular food has. So when you're looking at a label, you can see, oh, does my food have vitamin A? Does my food have vitamin D? Is my food giving me calcium or iron or potassium? And these are all different types of nutrients. So your homework for this one is not only to on your log every day to think about what your healthy meal looks like. We talked a lot about balance, and Melissa talked about this plate and how, you know, you're supposed to have these kinds of things on your plate. Alicia talked a lot about different types of vegetables, eating the rainbow, so having a lot of different types of food. So just making sure that you have a balanced meal, and it's not the same thing every single day, because that doesn't always give you a good variety of those nutrients. Your homework on top of this log is to pick 5 of these nutrients that you see on a label in your house. You can look at a couple different labels, but you're going to pick 5 nutrients and you're going to research what they are. And what is vitamin D and how does it help your body? What's it do for you? Why is it important to have it? So for potassium, for example, if you're going to do potassium, you might find out that potassium is in bananas, and it can help your body heal bruises, and it can kind of make your muscles stronger. So something like that. So you're going to pick 5 nutrients. Now you can't do potassium. And you are going to kind of figure out what have it and what does it do for your body. So we talked already about these fruits, grains, veggies, protein, and dairy. So just making sure you know at least 2 things that you're eating from each of these every day. Okay? That's your homework for Keep Your Fit Body Fueled to complete this badge. All right. Step 3 is know how to stress less. So the first thing I want you to think about is, how do I know if I'm stressed? And anytime you kind of feel like you might be stressed or anxious about something, I want you to think about it. How am I feeling it in my body? Like, am I playing with my fingers? Am I biting my nails? Am I like tapping my hands on the table? Or am I like tapping my toes? Am I just can't sit still? What does it feel like in your body when you're feeling kind of stressed and anxious? And then I want you to think about, like, what does that do for you? Like, does it mean that you're able to think things through really clearly? Is it like kind of making you too antsy to deal with the situation? So thinking about like stress can actually slow some of the systems in your body down. So we want to kind of make sure that everybody knows how to work through their stress. So I want you to think about things that kind of calm you down a little bit and give you a little bit more breathing room to feel a little bit more relaxed about what's happening. And you are going to build your own stress first aid kit. So the first thing you're going to do is think of a location that brings you like some joy or keeps you calm. So for me, this is usually my backyard. I've got a hammock back there, and that's my calm, stress-free place. And then you're going to build a kit that activates all 5 of your senses, because if you pay attention to what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're tasting, you tend to focus on those little details, and it stops your mind from kind of going around in these circles, which is causing some of that stress. So we want to really bring your mind back down to reality, what it can actually touch and feel and smell and taste. So for me, this is my stress kit here. So I would put in a couple lemon drops. They're not really very healthy for me, but they're so nice and sharp and lemony that it really makes me kind of like focus on that taste. So that's a really sharp taste that I can put in my first aid kit that I can pull out whenever. It doesn't need to be in the fridge. I don't need to have a constant supply of it. And then I have 2 videos on here. One is how to make a stress ball just from ingredients at home. So using 2 balloons and some flour. And so that's kind of your touch. And then this one is fun for sight. It's making a find it jar. So you put a bunch of rice in a jar, and you also hide some cool things in there, like maybe a Lego, maybe like a little mini soldier or something, just some toys you might have, a button, and then you shake the jar and you look for all of the stuff inside. So that would be for sight, the stress ball for touch, the lemon drops for taste. For hearing or sound, I would listen to some music. So I have a playlist that I've made of like kind of relaxing music. For me, it's Bach cello music. Might not be that for you. And then last one for smell. There's a couple of herbs I have in my kitchen or spices that I really like the smell of. So I really like smelling cinnamon. And I also really like smelling rosemary. So I have both of those in my stress first aid kit, so I can kind of like surround myself with a really nice smell. Right now it's springtime and I don't really need to have that, because out in my hammock it just smells really good because there's lilacs nearby, and I just love lilacs. So that's going to be your how to stress less. On your chart, you're also going to keep track of one thing that you did to kind of de-stress during the day. So did you go sit in your location? Did you use one of your 5 senses, things from your first aid kit? We also had Melissa talking to us a lot about how the more you exercise, the kind of like de-stresses you. So maybe you just doing your exercise, you felt really good afterwards, and you were able to kind of just lay down afterwards in the grass and just kind of like relax a little bit. So that's going to be on your log as well. You're going to go ahead and share what that makes you feel like every day after doing those 3 things. So what were some of the big emotions or feelings that you felt throughout the day? Okay, so that's know how to stress less. All right, we already did step 4 because we heard Melissa and Alicia talk to us, and that was to get the truth about health. So now we're going to take a look at step 5, which is help your family stay fit. So one thing that you can do is you can make a TV jar, which just has little ideas in it for what things you could do while you're watching TV, maybe during a commercial or something. So you need sticks or paper. You can write them on popsicle sticks, or you can just fold little pieces of paper, some pens and markers to write with. And then I just came up with a couple of ideas for you. So maybe during a commercial break, you do your 10 jumping jacks, or maybe you just take 5 deep breaths to de-stress. Maybe you turn the TV on you and you play some really good music and do a little mini dance party. Maybe you do 5 push-ups, maybe you do 10 sit-ups. So coming up with some ideas so that when you guys are watching TV, you pick one out of the jar and that's your commercial activity while you're watching TV that Other things you can do with your family for this step is make them do a log with you. So you can have them track what they're doing every day, and they're doing their 30 minutes of exercise, their healthy meal, their stress-free living, and recording their feelings for their 2 weeks. So this is the Staying Fit badge. Thanks everybody for watching, and good luck with staying fit. Remember, you can kind of stay fit in your house. It's kind of difficult times right now to be out and about a lot, but we can really work on kind of de-stressing and managing all of this different health. We had a lot of good ideas from our experts on this. So thank you so much, and we'll see you on our next video.